Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Boo and welcome to day 275 of a year of change. Today we're going to talk about motivation. This is something that I think not the fake, positive, rah rah rah, go team go, everything is awesome kind of motivation, but real motivation, the things that really do keep us going. And I figure where we're sort of starting in a new phase with what we're trying to do, that it's important to come back to this because when we sort of get used to being in a pattern, when we were looking at food, we were just tracking everything and making the tiny changes that we needed to there, but it was all sort of part of a bigger picture, one that we knew we were going to be doing, tracking our food every day, counting calories, moving around a little bit. But where we're starting to focus a little bit more on this, I think it's important to come back to this because there are some that think that, and there are some people that will actually be motivated by this, by that positive attitude and positive thinking and, you can do it and everything is great. And for me, that's never worked. We've talked about this a long time ago, very, very, very way back. That didn't make sense. Way, way, way back at the very beginning is what I meant to say. Very, very beginningness. That having that motivation, it's going to be something that is going to be realistic, something that you can look at and say, this is what's going to keep me going. And for me, you hear a lot of people that will say that it needs to be positive, like saying, well, I'm healthier now, so I can walk longer and I feel better and my clothes are fitting. That's more along the lines of positive reinforcement more than motivation. The motivation needs to be something, I think, that keeps us going when we don't want to go anymore. And just, looking at ourselves in the mirror is, for some of you it's going to work. For me, it doesn't because I'm not seeing any change. I talked about this yesterday briefly, that I can sort of see it in my face. Well, I can see it in my face. When I compare two pictures side by side, from when if you go back to the very first video that I ever did, there you can see a difference. But as far as my body, I don't see it. And I know I can feel it because my clothes are baggier and I'm down a couple of sizes. But overall, I don't see it myself. So that's not really a motivational tool for me. And trying to sort of get the gumption to get going in the morning is always tough because I do my treadmill about 6 a.m. And it's really hard to get going at 6 a.m. because I try to get up around 5:30, 5:45, and it's mainly because I want to get it done at the beginning of the day so that, I have that under my belt when I go to work. But it is tough to try to get that started. My downstairs neighbors probably love me, but it's never a matter of me going, all right, screwing up the courage and saying, okay, you can do this. It's going to be awesome. You're going to feel great and you're going to sweat and it's going to be terrific. I've never gotten to that point because I don't find that realistic. Like it seems to be the same sort of motivation that people try to give kids to try to get them excited about something, and it works. On small children, you can get them excited about anything stupid. It doesn't really matter. As long as you just give them lots of bright colors and noises and have your eyes really wide and go, isn't this going to be fun? Okay. They seem to, they sort of gravitate to that it works on them. But for us, for adults, that's not going to work. We need something that's going to keep us going. And like I say, for me, it's not, being able to see changes and, my clothes fitting better. It's nice. But for me, a lot of it is sort of more of an avoidance thing than anything else. I don't want to go back to the way I was. That's really the main reason. That's why I get sort of, last week I missed a day on my treadmill and it bothered me. Not because I thought, I just don't feel right when I don't exercise. Because it takes me into that routine, but I'm not there yet where people just go, I feel horrible because I didn't exercise. I always do feel better afterwards, but I'm not to that point where it's a necessity. But because, and the same reason why I've continued to do it, continued onwards to be doing unto it during the weekend, is because I need that routine. Because when I don't do it on the weekend, I tend to backslide a bit. So keeping that routine is very important because I don't want to go back to where I was at this point 75 pounds ago. Not quite, because again, I gotta stop sneak peeking, but I forget there's an actual weight of food in my stomach at this point. So, my main thing is not falling back to where I was. And it's for a very shallow reason. It's not because I wasn't able to jog. It wasn't because I wasn't able to, I mean, the clothing thing is sort of part of it, but obviously I was able to find clothes that somewhat fit. It's really for a very shallow reason that I don't want to look that way. I still look pretty bad because I still have another 75 pounds to go before I'm even at a normal weight, let alone, I have my, physique the way that I want it. But just thinking back, I mean, and especially where I still don't see it now, but 75 pounds is a significant amount of weight. And I don't want to put that back on. And I'm always worried that, I mean, it's not, there's something called body dysmorphia, which we've talked about a long time ago, which we will be revisiting during, the next 12 weeks or so. But it's not to that point yet where I'm, panicking that I'm not, fit enough or I'm not thin enough or anything like that. It's just simply a matter of, I know that if I wasn't tracking, if I wasn't recording every day, if I wasn't doing my treadmill every day, if I wasn't following that routine, then it's not going to take very much for me to sort of go back into my old eating habits. And I've said this before as well, so I may sound like a broken record to some of you. For some of you that are younger than that, a broken CD. And for some of you that are younger than that, a corrupted MP3. Anyway, I've said this before mainly because it's something that I think that we should at least acknowledge, that it's not always going to be something that is positive that's going to keep you going. And there are some that say, well, no, you need to learn to love yourself first and then, don't come from a negative place. Well, the negative place does work because I don't want to go back there. And chances are neither do you. We've gone 9 months. We've come a long way and we've made a lot of progress. And to look back to where we were when we first started and say, you know what, if I stop now and just go back to the way I was, I'm going to go back to that. And more than likely, we're going to go past that. And all it would take would be for us just to say, you know what, I'm just going to take this week and just not do anything. I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to track my food. I'm going to have a few snacks here and there the way that I want. And which eventually just sort of leads into, well, I'm going to eat what I want this week. Or, well, this is my week off, so I can have whatever I want. And then overstuff ourselves and focus more on the cakes and the cookies and stuff like that. And we can still have them. I still have not cut anything out like that at all. It's kept our progress very slow, but it's sustainable. And once we get to a point where, we're at a plateau for 2 or 3 months, then we know, okay, well, obviously we need to tweak something else. But for right now, for what we're trying to accomplish, I think that sometimes that negative feeling, trying to get away from that, is good because it's working. And it's not to a point where it's going to turn into something like anorexia or bulimia or anything like that. I mean, overeating in its own way, there are some that say it's an eating disorder. And if you're looking by technical term, then yes, it would be. I mean, you're overeating, so it's the same as undereating. But I've never looked at it the same way as bulimia or anorexia or anything like that. So I always feel like it's incomparable to that, where you say, well, it's an eating disorder, and then other people that have actually suffered through it are going, no, it's not. And I tend to agree with them. But anyway, don't know where I was going with that one. There's a worry that I have that, and it's something I've thought about a long, long time, that what if I get sick? What if something happens, and not if I get cancer or something like that, but what if I get the flu for, a week? A really, really bad flu where I can't do anything. I just want to stay in bed. When I get the flu, I don't often get barfy, so I'm not really worried about, well, I will just be throwing up all over the place. It's more along the line of everything aching. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. It's just really, really tough. But it's been on my mind for quite a while that, what if I do get sick and I can't do my treadmill for a week, or I don't have the energy to just go and say, well, I'm going to prepare this food and this food and this food, when it's much easier just to microwave something or to get, pre-processed stuff, which I know from experience, the processed stuff now kind of, I just feel afterwards. Is that something that, part of me is thinking, is that something I need to worry about? But I suppose if you're dealing with it, if you're looking at it ahead of time, and you know that, like, when you do get sick, it's something to keep in the forefront of your mind and say, okay, I know that this is a risk, so what can I do to try to mitigate those risks? And I think that's the main thing, really, to look at for something like that, and I'm just coming up with this now, so Because I have thought of it before, thinking, what do I do if I get really, really sick? And I can't do my exercise. I don't bother tracking. I'm just eating shitty foods for a week. Am I going to get out of that to a point where after a week, I'm not going to want to start up again? And so, those are the moments when that motivation needs to kick in. And for me, it's not just, running from 325 pounds. Part of it as well is the fact that I'm a very practical person. When I look at something and it's whether you want to do it or not. And I've even said this to my boss at work, multiple bosses actually, that I don't agree with it, but it's my job. So yes, I'm going to do it. It's not like I'm killing prisoners or something. If there's a process that I don't agree with, that I think, this is more efficient, they say, well, they don't want you doing it this way because there are other reasons that you don't know about that they want you to do it this way. I'll still voice my opinion, but I'll still do it. Same sort of thing with exercising and tracking and everything else. There has to get to a point where, and 6 in the morning is one of those points when I really it's tough to try to get started. And you're sitting there and you're staring at your treadmill and or whatever it is that you decide to do, and you think, I don't want to do this today. I'm too tired. I'm lazy. I want to skip a day. And knowing that I can't. Because if I skip that one day, if I give myself that excuse to say, well, it's only one day, that can very easily go, well, it's only 2 days. Well, it's only 1 week. I've been doing well for 9 months. Well, I did fine for 9 months. I don't really need to continue on with that. And then that's going to start sort of bleeding into other things. So there does have to come to a point where we say, you know what, I have to do it. It's the only real motivation that you have, is to say, I need to keep doing this, because if I don't, I'm going to go back to what I was a year ago, in our case 9 months ago. And that's something that I really want to stay away from. And again, it is a shallow reason. I want to look better. I do want to feel better, obviously, but I don't want to look that way anymore. And I'm still reaching towards, a target that I think is going to be hopefully a little bit better. Well, it is going to be better because I'm going to be losing. I've already lost basically the amount of weight that I've lost. I just need to do that again. That's it. So I know I can do it. I just need to do it a second time. This is the first 75, and this is the second 70. I don't know why I'm doing this because you can't see my hands anyway. I didn't even think I was going to do that. Anyway, so the first 75 are gone. I just need to lose that again. So I know that I can do it. I just need to sort of stick with it. And things are going to be a little bit more difficult because I'm not carrying around as much weight. So the weight does tend to sort of drop a little bit slower. But we've been going so slow anyway that I think it's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Aside from my... really dry. Sorry. Aside from my weigh-in yesterday, where I dropped a tremendous amount, which I'm pretty sure, at least half of it was due to the pickle incident from a week ago. I want to sort of stay on the 1 to 2 pounds a week because I know that it's the easiest path for me at this point. And where we're going to be focusing more on the exercise aspect of it, then that might speed up a little bit, but I'm not depending on it because the exercise really is more of a means to get to a point where I can really get healthier. And, that's what I'm focusing on with that. Not so much the exercise is going to help us lose weight. It obviously is. Once we get to a point where, we're actually doing enough exercise to make ourselves sweat and get out of breath and everything else. And trying to get to that motivation where it's going to be, you're going to be out of breath and it's going to be painful. Not terribly painful, but, there are times that I get a stitch in my side, or there are times that my leg just goes kind of wonky when I'm doing my treadmill. There are little things like that. There are times, especially, even now, when my posture isn't great and I'm on my treadmill and I find myself sort of slouching forward and I need to pull myself back and stand up just so that there's some relief on my back, because my back still does ache from time to time while I'm doing it. But knowing that, and, unfortunately, there are times we still have to just go ahead and do it and say, I know that this is going to be a part of it. And it is really tough because that's generally what we quit from, is that it's too hard, or, we're too uncomfortable, or we're too hungry. But I think we've gotten to a point now, when it comes to the food aspect anyway, where we can look at it and say, it's all right if I'm hungry. It's not going to kill me. Yes, I'm hungry, but I'll have something, later on down the road. Or, well, I'm hungry, but I can't really have anything for the rest of the day because I've already reached my goal. I'm going to have water or something. And because we've been doing that for so long, it's going to be a little bit easier to do that when it comes to exercise. So that when you're saying, whatever you've decided to do, whatever your exercise of choice has been over the past few months, when you're looking at it and saying, okay, I'm going to increase the intensity, or I'm going to increase the frequency that I'm doing this, or I'm just going to do it for a little bit longer. It's not so that we're pushing ourselves to the point where we're collapsing all over the place like a marathon runner, but it's enough that we'll know that if there is some discomfort, that we know that we can go through it, that it's sort of par for the course, that if we want to get to where we want to be, yeah, that works. If we want to reach our goal, then we knew that we were going to have some discomfort along the way. But the hardest part, I think, for a lot of us is going to be the food, and we've really dealt with that. That we've been able to control that a little bit better now than we were 9 months ago. That we can say no to certain things. We can say, we can indulge a little bit in treats, and then say, you know what, that's probably enough. I shouldn't eat the entire bag. We've improved our diet greatly. So we know that we can do it with food. So just like the 75 pounds, we know we can do it with this. We just need to apply that to the exercise part of it. Now, obviously not to get to a point where you hurt yourself. Don't be stupid. And if you're running along and your nose is bleeding and your eye is burning and you're sweating all over the place and all of a sudden your leg falls off, stop running. Obviously, well, if your leg falls off, you're probably going to end up stopping running anyway. If not, bravo. But just in general, I mean, if you get to a point, like, always do something that's going to be safe for you. And that's really what we've been doing. And the running for me, I find, is easier because I just watch TV while I'm doing it. So I'm not focusing just on that. So, I mean, but there is that, we do have that discomfort. We know that that's going to be part of it. And just acknowledging it, I think, and sort of not necessarily pushing through it, but at least addressing it when it happens and say, I know that this is going to be part of it, and I have to deal with this. If I want to continue on and get to my goal, then I'm going to have to deal with these little hiccups along the way. I think is a much better motivational tool than just saying, thinking positive thoughts and aphorisms and all the extra bullshit that no one seems to really fall for. As I said, like, kids tend to go for it, but adults in general, I don't think anybody really believes in that. I mean, you hear it. I hear it at work all the time. You'll hear it like people that are interviewing a kid for a radio program. I heard that the other day because it's getting to be Christmas here, so of course they're inviting all the kids in. They're like, "Are you excited for Santa?" And the kid, yeah. And they, eventually, as the person just keeps getting more and more excited, the kid sort of joins in. But that same sort of, oh, everything is great and we're going to have fun. No one really believes that. I don't think anyway. I think that there's a lot of people that sort of put forward that aspect thinking, no, we have to keep things positive. And I don't think there's anybody in the room that really believes it. And the same thing with the person doing it. They obviously don't believe it either. So I think it's a little better for us to be honest with one another and say, okay, I'm not going to just cheer you on and say, oh, this is awesome. You can do it. Rah, rah, bravo. Good work. Keep it going. But we have to acknowledge the fact that this is tough. This has been very tough. Right from day one, we've tried to make it as easy as possible so that we can stick with it, but it has been a struggle. It's been hard work to get to where we are, but it is paying off. And now that we've sort of gotten used to that hard work, we can apply it to another aspect of it. The food part is pretty much where it needs to be. We just need to stay on target with that. We'll be okay. If we can apply that to our exercise, then, and although it's a little bit different because it's more physical than the emotional and psychological part of the food, but, I mean, we're at a stage now that I think we're going to be able to do it. You're going to have some aches and pains from time to time. It's not going to be anything major. It's not going to be anything that you're going to need surgery for unless you're dumb and you keep going when you're hurt. But, again, way over here in my hand, I'm doing stuff with it. You can't see what it did. Anyway, I'm going on too long and now I've lost my train of thought. Yes, we can apply what we've done psychologically with food and emotionally with food to what we are going to be doing physically with exercise. And just acknowledging the fact that we are going to have some difficulty, but look at how far you've come in 9 months. In 39 weeks, I should say. In the past 39 weeks, go back, look at where you were when you first started this, and then say, you know what, there has been progress. Whether you can actually see it, there's evidence out there. Your clothes are fitting better. You're not out of breath walking up a hill. You're not out of breath brushing your teeth, if you're like me. your clothes, yes, maybe you have had to go buy new clothes. Sorry, that's going to be an investment for you. But it's a good investment to have. You're eating healthier. You're feeling better just in general. And little aches and pains like joint pain and back pain for me have, pretty much gone. I still have it every once in a while because I'm still carrying way, way too much weight. But I know that eventually that's going to fall off because I'm just going to keep on progressing the way that I have been. And when you start applying that to the exercise portion of it, then I think it's going to make things a little bit easier because you have some proof that what you're going to be doing does work. Not just, well, it's positive reinforcement now because, I've lost this much weight, but you can go back and look at it and say, I know that this works. I know that, just accepting it, that it's going to be, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. Just being able to say, yes, I understand that, and I'm going to be able to deal with it then is going to be helpful, and it's going to keep you going. For me, anyway, it does. More than positive thinking, more than trying to, get myself all gung-ho first thing in the morning. Just looking back and saying, I don't want to be where I was, and I know that what I'm doing is going to work. So yes, if I have a stitch in my side, or if my leg feels weird, 20 minutes in, or if I don't feel like doing it, I need to look at that and say, if I don't do this, I'm going to be going back to that. And if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to get to where I want to be. That's really the main motivation that I find that helps me more than anything else. I mean, we can look at other people that are doing the same thing. We can look at people that have achieved their goals. And it's nice to have that reinforcement. But for me, looking at someone that's lost, 300 pounds, I don't see that as motivation for me. And I don't see, because I'm not doing what they did. For the most part, I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to copy them and find out what they did and, then go and do that, because it's worked for them. And this is why we've shared so many people on YouTube, because stuff that I'm doing may not work for you. That it might be that you found someone else on the channel that, you think, great, this is what I'm going to be doing. It's working for them. It's working for me. That's what I'm doing. So whatever it is that you've found that has gotten you to this point, 9 months down the road, that you've lost the weight that you've wanted to, you can still apply that same technique to the exercise portion of it. Because although a lot of it is, different because it's more physical than mental, just sort of getting going and getting started on that, a lot of that is just the mental, psychological aspect of it, where I don't want to get going in the morning. I don't want to get started. I'm going to be hurting. I'm going to be sweating. I'm going to be gross. I'm going to be out of breath. It's too hard. And that's really the main thing. It's too hard. It's too hard. We thought that 9 months ago. If you were to say 9 months ago, well, you're going to be eating this many calories in the run of a day. You're going to have 2 to 3 servings of vegetables a day. You're going to be drinking 1 to 2 liters of water a day. You're going to cut way back on the amount of cakes and cookies and junk food and everything else. You're going to be eating less processed food. You're going to be, snacking on things like pickles and dates and grapes and starfruit and all sorts of weird vegetables that you've never heard of. If you were to tell yourself that 9 months ago, there's no way that you would have been able to think that you were able to do it. And you would have just said, no, I simply can't do it. So again, we're going to be taking this very, very slowly. We're going to be making baby steps when it comes to the exercise portion of it. But it's just something that I think that we need to acknowledge because it is really tough getting started. And I mean, luckily, a lot of us have been doing this for quite a while. We started out with just very basic exercise stuff, and it's just sort of become part of our day. Or part of our week, if you're not doing it every day. So being able to tweak that little by little and improve on that isn't going to be any more difficult than improving the food that we were doing. There are still some medical issues that you need to worry about. Same thing with allergies and, the different reactions with medication, all the little things that sort of we touched on when we were looking at the food. The same thing's going to happen with the exercise. So I feel like I've been going on for far too long. Jeez, I have. I've been going on way, way too long. Anyway. That was it. I originally was going to start off with just motivation and try to keep this very short, it's been 9 months. I'm not going to make these any shorter. I'm trying, but I'm just babbling all the time. But the main thing is, that what you're doing is working. Just because we're switching from food to exercise doesn't mean that it's going to stop. There's going to be more information we're going to be able to add. There are going to be, different aspects of the people that we've seen that you're going to be able to add to that as well. But in general, you're going to have your own reason for doing what you're doing. You're going to have your own motivation for it. Whether it's, looking forward to what you want your goal weight to be and reaching towards that, or whether it's like me looking back and saying, I don't want to be there again and doing everything that you can to stay away from that. Whatever's going to work for you, And it's not really a positive or a negative thing so much as just whatever's going to be practically applicable. And then I didn't know if I was going to be able to say it because it's a tongue twister. Whatever you're going to be able to actually use as, a good way to motivate yourself. No, I'm losing all my stuff. Words. All my stuff. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now because otherwise I'm just going to repeat myself, which I think I probably already have. Was trying to sum everything up and once again failed miserably. So, stick with me. We have another 12 weeks to go where we're going to be looking at this stuff. We will be able to get through it. So it may be a little bit worrying for some of you out there, especially where it's now exercise has been sort of something really daunting for a lot of us for a long, long time. But we're going to take it slow. We're going to take things very easy. We're going to gradually build up to where we need to be. And it's going to be a little bit different than the food thing because we aren't all going to be doing the same thing. So that's what we have to look forward to. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.